Hello and welcome to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook and this podcast is all about interviewing musicians about the music that they're coming up with right now and how that is helping make the world a little more harmonious. It's all based on a Quincy Jones quote, which goes something like, "Imagine what a harmonious world it would be if everyone shared a little of what they're good at." And I think that applies beyond music, but I'm just talking to musicians and those who are involved in music. There are over 275 episodes now online, so do take a look at the back catalogue because there are lots of very interesting people. Today, I'm interviewing a very exciting piano player called Sultan Stevenson from London. Sultan's second album, El Roy, is out now, and what you're listening to is the title track. And it's a brilliant trio album with a little bit of additional work from Soweto Kinch on tenor sax and Josh Short on trumpet and flugel. And you can listen to the episode in which I spoke to Soweto Kinch a couple of years ago. I'll put the links to that in the show notes. So I hope you enjoy listening to my conversation with Sultan Stevenson. So welcome to Harmonious World. I'm delighted to be joined by pianist Sultan Stevenson. Thank you for joining me, Sultan.
Oh, thank you for having me, Hilary. Thank you.
That's brilliant. So we're talking mainly about El Roy, but also about your nomination for a Jazz FM award, which is brilliant.
Yeah, it's really been kind of come out of nowhere really because I was aware that the awards were kind of put on hold, or they had a bit of a hiatus for a couple years, and before the hiatus, I've always known about them, and so many of my teachers have been nominated and have won them, such as Binka Golding, Moses Boyd, Gary Crosby, Dennis Baptiste, of course, Soweto. List goes on, Julian Joseph, Robin Mitchell. So now to actually be nominated, it kind of came out of nowhere. So, wow.
Yeah, it's almost like the perfect time for you because you kind of, you're over that initial debut stuff and you're a seasoned performer and a seasoned recording artist now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I love your stuff, and actually, I was really pleased when I got this chance to chat with you because I find your music. I mean, it's kind of got Herbie Hancock in there. But it's very much your own style, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's a real, I guess, a mixture of different jazz vantage points, I guess. So yeah, there's a bit of Herbie, which I try to put in there. There's also people always credit me as sounding a lot like McCoy Tyner.
Yeah,
that's definitely in there as well. There's other kind of bits and bobs as well, both compositionally and in terms of the improvisation. But I really like the music to kind of embody a wide range of influences and cultures and styles and vantage points. Yeah.
Yeah, and clearly you're influenced by other things in culture because there's a reference to 12 Years a Slave, which is an incredible book, isn't it?
Yeah. There's that, but that's actually the first track off of the record is a tune called Unspeakable Happiness.
This is the perfect point at which to play an extract from Unspeakable Happiness from El Roy by Sultan Stevenson.
And it's actually literally the line from which the protagonist, so for those of listeners who might not know, um, basic synopsis of the book is that there's this man called Solomon Norfolk, who is a free man, African American man, but free in this time of slavery. And out of his own will, he is falsely put into slavery and endures all the hardships of slavery for 12 years. And then the point in which we see the line unspeakable happiness comes at the very end of the book or film, for those who might be more acquainted with the film, in which he's going through his kind of really harsh day-to-day of slavery, and he's finally presented with an opportunity to escape slavery and to regain his identity. And he describes such a opportunity as an unspeakable happiness. And that kind of really took me back when I was reading that book. And I really wanted to create a sound world or a sound narrative that would explore what it means to experience an unspeakable happiness.
Yeah, and it's a fantastic book, isn't it? And obviously the film's really good as
Mm,
well.
mm,
So,
mm.
so yeah, and it's funny how those things they really speak to you, don't they? And then they can be an influence on a particular track or on your whole being, really.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, uh, there's many different influences. There's that, as in the literature kind of thing. There's also, I guess, bits of John Coltrane and Herbie Hancock, as you mentioned. I've listened to and have directly written compositions just on the inspiration from listening to those different bits of art. So, I mean, really the inspiration kind of comes from anywhere, I guess. It can come from literature, it could come from experience, it can come from meeting a person for the first time, an old friend. Um, for me, I try to allow influence to come from everywhere.
Yeah. So three of the tracks are a suite called Those Who Believe, which was originally composed just for the trio. Is that right?
Yeah, but absolutely right. It was that was actually composed back in 2022. So it's really the order of things is kind of really kind of messed up, I guess. Like we released the Faithful One album that was in March of 2023 on Whirlwind Recordings, and then all the compositions were written kind of from 2020 through till 2022. And then interestingly, we recorded the album that's just come out now, Elroy, that was recorded the same year as the Faithful One album was released. So it really, I guess the why they're so kind of squished together is very much intentional. I really wanted the second album to be not necessarily like a new creation, like a new, brand new kind of thing. I really wanted it to be almost like a sequel to the first record, or to be a continuation of the first record, in terms of the themes, the style of playing, the music, but still also maintain its own sovereignty and its own sense of kind of itself, and being a standalone piece of artwork, piece of artistic output for itself.
Yeah, and actually, I mean, you're too young to sort of have a sort of a back catalogue or something, but sometimes it's interesting to see where these things come from because in quite often you're recording one album and have already started writing the next one
Yeah,
because that's
yeah,
the way musicians work.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I've actually done it. I'm actually doing it now. I pretty much have finished the next record. So this would be the third album. Um, and now I'm kind of in the process of trying to plan out the process, from knowing all the compositions, having them all written down, to the eventual release of the compositions, I guess, hopefully next year or something. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We're always kind of thinking uh, multiple steps ahead, really. Which I
Yeah,
guess you have to, the times we live in now, it's the information age, and people kind of want things very urgently. So I think it's also down to the climate.
Yeah, I think that's true. And also, I think that there's something about being a creative person that you don't stop. So at some point, you have to kind of draw a line in the sand for an album,
Mhm.
for a body of work, and kind of record it, and that's done. But there's always overlap, and there's always pieces that you come back to, aren't there? That you've
Yeah,
started, and that you suddenly go, well, there was things in that I liked. Maybe I can reinvent that.
yeah, no, I absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I want to ask you about Jacob and Joel, who are
Mhm.
your partners in crime, your trio. Because you've been together quite a while with them, haven't you?
Yeah, we've been playing together for about 5 years now. It's pretty much 5 years. I met I actually met Jacob first because we're both beneficiaries of two programs actually. The first program we joined, and this is how we met, was called the Haringey Young Musicians. And this is like a it's the local music service for the borough in which we grew up in, Haringey, North London, Northeast London. And it's run by a fantastic gentleman called Peter Desmond, who's really, really wonderful. Has done so much great work for jazz and even just music in general, for the past probably good 20, 25 years. He ran that institution. But we met there. We were doing like the kind of regional big band, and we really hit off, and we've been playing together ever since. And then in 2020, I met Joel. Joel at the time was at Trinity Laban. Um, and I can't remember exactly how we met, but we met somehow, maybe at a gig or a jam session. I can't remember. But I really loved the way he played, and at that time I was very happy to be getting loads of support from Tomorrow's Warriors as well as also Jazz Refreshed as well. So they were offering me loads of different opportunities to perform in London and actually further afield as well. So it really became urgent for me to assemble a group to actually play repertoires into my own compositions, and I specifically chose Joel and Jacob, and I guess we've been going from strength to strength to strength.
Yeah, and it feels like you've grown up together, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does, it does. I think the first big moment for us was back in 2021, I think it was. It was 2020 or 20, I can't remember, 2021, in which this was a really crazy day. I was on the tube somewhere and I got this email. I didn't really recognize the email address. It's by a band called Rory Fruit. And it was a very simple email. It only had two lines to it. And the email just read, "Hi, Sultan. Um, would you like to open for Billy Cobham at the Jazz Cafe? Best, Rory." And it was literally that simple. There's no high ball as well. But it was just that simple. And at first, I really thought it was like a hoax or some kind of
Sure.
spam or like some kind of hacker or
Yeah.
something. But it was legit. It was an offer, and we did it, and we opened for Billy Cobham back in 2021. We did 2 days. I think it was like Friday was the first night, and then Saturday was the second night, and that was the real kind of big moment for us. And it really helped our audience as well. I mean, it was a very tough job. It's because like you have an audience that are coming to see this jazz legend, Billy Cobham, and then opening for them is this, bunch of unknown young people. So it's actually a very hard task to try and convince these people that, yeah, we know you're listening for Billy Cobham who's going to come, but maybe pay attention and see what we have to say. And it worked, we really pulled it off. And still to this day, in fact, even just 2 days ago, we launched the record, and there was someone who came and said, yeah, the first time I saw you was at that Billy Cobham thing. So it was a real kind of really, really impactful, meaningful thing for us three.
I think one of the nice things about jazz especially is that everybody knows how hard it is to kind of make a living and to to
Extremely,
to
yeah.
get
Yeah.
by. And everybody seems to give everyone else a bit of a leg up when they can. You know, right, it's about helping people rise up rather than pushing
Yeah.
pushing people down. I mean, I suspect that's not always the case, but I think it's one of those areas where we do all. It's part of what I want to do with Harmonious World is to be
Mm,
finding music that other people, people haven't heard of, or it's just passed them by.
yeah, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's you even see this in terms of, like, for example, even record labels, like the people that own record labels or that A&Rs, or even the people that own venues. I guess this is like the back end of the jazz business. Is like these are the same people that will you see them about on the tube on the street. They're not like these kind of high celebrities who live in crazy gold mansions or anything. Like everyone's together for everyone, and everyone kind of knows everyone. So it's one kind of big community. So you're absolutely right. It's like we're
Yeah,
all kind of in it for each other, and we're all trying to help out each other.
yeah.
Mm,
It's a good thing.
mm.
So, talking about people helping out, so you got Soweto Kinch helping out on this album, which is
Yes.
it's insane. I mean, I interviewed Soweto. In fact, funnily enough, it was November a couple of years ago, and I interviewed Christian McBride in person in London, and then Soweto uh on Zoom in the afternoon. And it was like that was my biggest day. That was fantastic. Soweto's such a great guy, isn't he? I mean, as well as being a phenomenal sax player.
Yeah, so Sweater was it's a massive privilege to have him on the record. And we actually realized when we were recording the album that we do have a very weird connection. In terms of Sweater's dad was a man called Don Kinch, and Don
Yeah.
Kinch is a Barbadian man who was a playwright and also taught drama at UWE. So this is the University of the West Indies. So my dad went to UWE, University of the West Indies, and he didn't do drama. He did politics, journalism, something like that. But anyway, he chose to do like an optional module of drama or something. So it turns out that Soweto's dad taught my dad when he was at university. Really, really small world.
Yeah. Yeah.
But Soweto he's such a privilege to have on the record, such a privilege to play with as well. And really great energy, really fun, very encouraging, very down to earth, very youthful as well. It was just a real pleasure to have him on the record.
Yeah. Fantastic. And then you've got trumpet. You've got Josh Short on trumpet
Yeah,
flugel.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Josh is again someone who's I guess went through the whole conservatory, cutting your teeth kind of thing. As me, so and I've always been I've always loved the way he plays. Um, he has this kind of sense of just working with him. He's very professional, very likes to get something nailed, likes to get the job done, which I really, really love, but also is very open to different opinions and open to different ways of doing things and very flexible as well. And really good with actually working with the person who he's paired up with in the first record it was Dennis and the second record is now Soweto. So he's very good with actually being flexible and being almost like a chameleon kind of figure to kind of work out how to work in the musical situation.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. So you mentioned there you went through the sort of conservatory thing. So how did your musical education? I mean, how did you start on the piano in the first place?
Oh, great question. I started on the piano. Well, I guess even before that, it goes back to, as I said, my dad, he's of Barbadian origin, and he used to run a jazz radio show back in my parents' home of Barbados. And we also used to have a Barbados Jazz Festival, which sadly doesn't happen anymore. But what he used to do is he would, if he knew that, I don't know, Branford Marsalis or Winton or Roy Hargrove or Terence Blanchard or I don't know, Elena Elias or someone was coming to the festival, he would get in touch with them or their management and say, look, I do a radio show. I don't suppose so and so could spare a couple of an hour or so to come on my show and talk. And they would quite often do that. So he built up loads of memorabilia, loads of CDs as well, stories. And when my parents moved to England to raise me, he kept all of these things. So there was like CDs everywhere when I was growing up in the car, in the living room, in every single room, in storage, everywhere. So growing up, I was surrounded with jazz, all kinds of jazz, Coltrane, Roy Hargrove, Kenny G, Kenny Garrett. Um, No, everyone, Jeff Lorber, everybody. And I guess it maybe prompted me to around the age of 7 or 8 to ask for lessons, music lessons. But I actually really wanted to learn the saxophone. I didn't really want to learn the piano at all because I thought saxophone's kind of cool. It has a nice shape, it's gold. Whereas piano's everywhere and it's kind of so boring and I just wanted to learn something a bit cool and original. So I went to my dad and I said, I don't suppose you could ask the primary school if they have any saxophone teachers or saxophones for me to play. And he said, yeah, cool, I'll ask. So he asked the school and the school came back saying, no, we don't have any saxophones or saxophone teachers, but we do have piano lessons and we do have piano teachers to teach them. So I begrudgingly did the piano, went to the piano lesson and said, with the promise that I would only be really doing piano for like a year, and then when I go to secondary school, I could likely learn the saxophone. So it was never really my intention to learn the piano. But I went to the first piano lesson, and it was like a half an hour lesson, and within maybe 7, 8 minutes, I had no intention to learn saxophone at all. I was sold on the piano and kept doing piano lessons in primary school, then through to secondary school. Then, as I said, probably midway through secondary school, I got involved with Tomorrow's Warriors, the Julian Joseph Jazz Academy as well, Haringey musicians. Also, my dad's kind of friends who played jazz as well. And it was from there, I guess it all kind of really evolved. But it was, yeah, I guess it's really my love of piano and jazz that kind of kept me at it.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it, when an instrument just grabs you? Because I did a bit of piano, then I learned the clarinet, and then my clarinet teacher went, I was getting really bored with it. My clarinet teacher went, "Well, here you are, here's a saxophone." I was like, "Okay, I've come home."
Yeah.
It was like, "That's it, I'm done."
Yeah.
I still play the clarinet from time to time, but it's definitely second to
Oh, right, right, right.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's funny, isn't it? Like, because I think, all the musicians that I talk to, you just have this moment where you just go, "This is me. This
Exactly.
is," yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, fantastic. And then did you go on to music college?
I did. I went to the Guildhall School of Music. I got in there probably 2019. Yeah, 2019. Then I graduated in 2023. So not too long ago.
No.
That was great. It was a really great time. It was kind of bittersweet because obviously COVID came halfway through first year. COVID came, but it didn't really affect us too much because we still played. I mean, we kind of had to. That's the whole idea of the conservatory course. It's all about performance.
Yeah.
So we still played quite a lot. I didn't really feel COVID too much, to be honest, at the Guildhall at my time. But anyway, I had really great teachers. I had people like Simon Purcell, Robert Mitchell, Barry Green, Gareth Williams. We had great masterclasses. We had like Winner Scroffy, he came in one time. Larry Grenadier came in. Joshua Redmond came in as well. So we had some really, really great opportunities, great time. And yeah, I mean, I learned so much from the aforementioned people.
Yeah, and it sounds like you've had some amazing experiences of things like Tomorrow's Warriors and all of
Yeah,
those things because they just they just open the doors, don't they, to different styles and they've different interpretations of things and all of that,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
which
I
is
probably learned. I almost call it my first university was actually Tomorrow's Warriors, and like it meant by the time that I got into conservatory, I already kind of knew some stuff, and I guess more so on the actual playing experience side, I knew quite a lot because I guess also I'm very fortunate to live in London. Like these programs are very prevalent in London, whereas if you go further up north in this country, or even further down south, um, there's not as many kind of really great programs for people playing jazz.
yeah.
I guess that was really advantageous for me. It really kind of filled in the gap of acquainting me with people my age who were interested in after the same thing as I was.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, definitely. So what's next? So you had the album launch, I think
Yeah.
last week, and
Mhm.
that was a huge success by the looks of it. I've seen the photos.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was amazing. It was really, I mean, it's really it's a full circle moment as well because obviously Tomorrow's Warriors is based at the South Bank Centre. So I'd been going to the South Bank for years and years and years. And now to actually play in the South Bank Centre, is a real kind of surreal kind of experience, really. So it was a massive. It was nice to reunite the whole band as well. Usually we play in trio, but for that concert, obviously we honored the album. We played with Soweto and Josh as well. So we actually did the whole album in track order. So it was like people were literally listening to the actual record,
Wow.
which was really quite special. Um, but I guess what's next is we have a few shows in England. I think we have something. First one coming up is in Nottingham, and then we're in Cambridge and Leeds. And then in June, we're super exciting. We're actually off on a European tour. So our first stop is in the Czech Republic. Then we have another gig this the next day in a different city in Czech Republic, in Prague, this time at a place called Jazzstock. And then from there, we go on to Cologne in Germany, the day after. Then the day after that, we're in so many dates, I can't remember. We're in Hamburg, that's it, we're in Hamburg.
Oh, lovely.
And then we go across to Poland to play this really great venue called Jasmine in Warsaw. And then we go back to Germany to do a show in a place called Bingen, which isn't too far from Frankfurt. Then after that, we go to Munich to a place called Unterfahrt Jazz Club. And then we go on to Stuttgart. And then we go on to a place called Rattlingen. And then we finally go to Paris to play Duke de Lombard's in Paris, and then we fly home. And then in August, we kind of kick things back up and go to Bulgaria, Sofia, then the day after in Bansko for the Bansko Jazz Festival. Um, and then we go to Wales, of all places, for the Brecon Jazz Festival, which is really super exciting. And then in October, we are supposed to play the King's Place in London.
Oh, that's a fantastic venue.
Yeah, it's lovely. It's a real honor to play that venue. And then I don't know what's happening in December.
That's a lot,
I'm kind
though.
of surprised I remember all that, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's very good. But I'll make sure that in the show notes I put all the
Oh,
links
thank you.
to that because uh my listeners are all over the world. So, I'll get them to look out for you
Yeah,
because it sounds like those are going to be really great gigs.
yeah. I mean, we're super excited. I mean, it's really a privilege to play outside of the UK. That's always a massive kind of even just the excitement of actually stepping on a plane and going to the venue, then going to the hotel or checking in, and then going back to the venue to get ready, and then you play the concert, hopefully
Yeah,
saw some vinyl and stuff, and then you go back to the hotel. Even just that kind of buzz of the day is really, really.
absolutely. And you'll start to get used to having a Sharpie in your hand all the time to sign the
Oh yeah.
albums and stuff.
So true. Yeah.
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 Oh, that's fantastic. It's a real pleasure to talk to you, Sultan. I
Oh,
look
thank
forward
you.
to the
Thank
next
you.
album when that comes out.
Yeah, thanks, Louis. Hopefully it won't be too long.
It's such a pleasure to talk to you.
Oh, thanks for having me, Louis. Thanks.
Yeah. It was such a pleasure to talk to Sultan Stevenson there about his album El Roy. I hope you enjoyed listening in. What you're listening to now is A Region in My Mind, which is one of my favourite tracks on this album. Please remember that you can find reviews of albums and live gigs on the blog at hilaryseabrook.blogger.com. And I hope you enjoy listening to Harmonious World. Do please get in touch. Until the next episode, I just hope you have a really good week. And thanks for joining me on Harmonious World. Thank you for listening to the latest episode of Harmonious World. My name is Hilary Seabrook, and it's a great delight to bring this series of discussions with musicians and composers and writers and all sorts of people to you. Obviously, there's no point in having a podcast if people aren't listening, and I'm very grateful to my listeners for doing so. Thanks also to Joe English for composing and performing this new theme tune. So wherever you get your podcast, you can leave a review. You can share this with your friends and family, either as a link or on social media and that sort of thing. I'd be really grateful for that. Don't forget that you can subscribe now. There's a link wherever you get your podcasts. So have a great week, and please remember why I started this, which is just to try and make the world a little more harmonious. Thanks for listening to Harmonious World.